Let's be honest. If a woman lets you touch one very specific part of her body, your life doesn't magically change. Fireworks don't explode and she doesn't become yours. But something far more important happens. A silent psychological door opens. And most men miss it completely. They think attraction is loud, obvious, physical. It's not. Real attraction is quiet. It's permission. It's trust. It's a woman allowing you into a space she protects from almost everyone else. And if you, psychology of comfort and trust, don't understand that space, you'll either rush it and lose her, or hesitate and fade into irrelevance. I'm going to speak to you as a woman who understands how women think when no man is around. Not what we say, not what we post, what actually happens internally. There is one area of the body that isn't sexual in the way you've been trained to think, but psychologically, it's more intimate than anything else. It's not about desire alone. It's about safety, emotional alignment, and how she categorizes you in her mind. That place is her hands and forearms. Listen carefully. A woman's hands are her boundary managers. They're how she, the specific spot that signals acceptance, interacts with the world. They push away what feels wrong and pull closer what feels safe. When a woman allows you to casually, naturally touch her hands or forearm, and more importantly, she doesn't pull away. She's not thinking about sex. She's deciding something far deeper. She's deciding whether your presence calms her nervous system or activates her defenses. Most men think attraction starts below the waist. For women, it starts in the nervous system. If your touch on her hand feels grounding, familiar, and unthreatening, her body marks you as safe. And safety is the gateway emotion to desire. Without it, nothing else matters. With it, everything else becomes possible. Over time. Here's the part no one tells: friendly touch versus attraction. You women don't allow this touch accidentally. Even if it looks casual, even if she laughs it off, her body makes the decision before her mouth does. If she lets your fingers linger when you pass something to her, if she doesn't recoil when you guide her gently by the forearm through a crowded space, if she leans into it instead of away, that's not politeness. That's acceptance. But understand this. The meaning isn't in the touch itself, it's in her response. Does she relax? Does her breathing slow? Does she maintain eye contact afterward? Those micro reactions tell you more than any flirtatious text ever could. Women communicate attraction through comfort. What it means when she doesn't pull away long before they communicate it through words. And here's where men sabotage everything. They interpret this moment as a green light to escalate physically or emotionally too fast. They turn a moment of trust into pressure. When you do that, her nervous system flips from open to guarded in seconds. And once that happens, you don't get another chance to be reclassified. The man who understands this doesn't rush. He stays calm, present. He lets the moment breathe. He doesn't need to prove anything because he knows that when a woman allows that kind of touch, she's not giving him her body. She's testing whether he deserves continued access to her emotional world. And that test is the mistake men make after this everything. What most men don't realize is that women are constantly sorting men into mental categories. And these categories are not logical, they're emotional. You don't get placed into the potential partner category because you're attractive, successful, or confident. You get placed there because her body feels different around you. And that difference is subtle. It's in how close she stands, how long she stays, how easily she allows you into her physical orbit without tension. When a woman lets you touch her hands or forearm comfortably, her subconscious is asking one question. Do I feel more like how to respond the right way myself around this man or less? If your presence quiets her mind instead of speeding it up, you've already separated yourself from the majority of men competing for her attention. Attraction for women is subtractive, not additive. She isn't asking, what does he bring? She's asking, what does he take away? Does he take away peace, safety, emotional control, or does he remove stress, self-consciousness, and pressure? Here's a hard truth men don't like to hear. Women are rarely attracted to men who want them too badly. not final female psychology insight. Because desire is unattractive, but because it introduces instability. A man who is desperate for validation turns touch into a transaction. His hand isn't calm, it's asking. And women feel that instantly. The moment your touch carries expectation, it stops being comforting and starts being invasive, even if it's gentle. That's why two men can touch the same woman in the same way and get opposite reactions. One is allowed is closer. The other is subtly pushed away. The difference isn't technique, it's emotional posture. One man is grounded in himself, the other is seeking permission to feel worthy. When a woman allows that kind of touch from you repeatedly, she's unconsciously saying, "You don't disrupt me." And in female psychology, that's rare. Most men bring chaos, emotional swings, ego needs, hidden agendas. The man who doesn't feels different, safer, more familiar, almost like home. And familiarity, when paired with masculine presence, is deeply attractive. But there's another layer most men never see. A woman who lets you touch her hands or forearm in quiet moments when there's no crowd, no social pressure, no alcohol is revealing more than attraction. She's revealing trust in your self-control. She's watching whether you respect the boundary she's offering instead of trying to expand it. Women don't fear men who are confident. They fear men who don't know when to stop. If you honor that moment without escalating, something powerful happens. Her curiosity grows. She starts wondering why you're different, why you're not trying to take more, why being near you feels easy instead of performative. And that curiosity pulls her toward you far more effectively than any clever line ever could. This is where masculine patience becomes magnetic. Not passive, not timid, but composed. You don't withdraw. You don't chase. You stay exactly where you are, present, steady, unbothered, and her nervous system relaxes even more in response. That relaxation is the foundation of everything that follows: emotional openness, desire, attachment. Without it, nothing sticks. With it, you don't have to force anything at all. Now, listen carefully, because this is where attraction quietly turns into attachment and where most men unknowingly break the spell. When a woman allows that gentle, unguarded touch, she is not inviting intensity. She is inviting consistency. Her body is asking a question her mind hasn't fully formed yet. Is this man the same over time? Or is this just a moment? Women are wired to watch patterns, not promises. You can say all the right things and still lose her if your emotional energy fluctuates. One day confident, the next day insecure, one day attentive, the next day distant in a way that feels reactive. Every inconsistency signals potential instability, and instability is the fastest way to shut down the emotional openness you worked so hard to earn. This is why that specific touch matters so much. Hands and forearms are not charged with fantasy. They're charged with reality. They're present in everyday life. If she feels comfortable there, she's testing whether you can be part of her normal world, not just a thrilling distraction. Most men chase excitement. Women look for emotional reliability disguised as calm strength. Here's something very few men understand. A woman becomes attached not when she feels overwhelmed, but when she feels understood without having to explain herself. If your presence allows her to drop her guard, to be quiet without awkwardness, to exist without performing femininity, you are already winning. Touch is simply the physical expression of that emotional permission. But there's a danger here. When men sense this shift, they often start changing their behavior. They text more, they seek reassurance, they subtly check whether she still feels the same, and in doing so, they transfer emotional responsibility onto her. That's when her body tightens again. Not because she stopped liking you, but because she feels the weight of managing your emotions. Masculine strength in this context is emotional self-sufficiency. It's knowing how you feel without needing her to confirm it. It's allowing attraction to unfold instead of interrogating it. When a woman feels that you can hold your own emotional state, she relaxes further into connection. When she senses that you need her response to regulate you, attraction eritis. Another truth women rarely say out loud. We are constantly assessing how a man handles power. Not social power, emotional power. When she allows touch, she's giving you a small amount of influence over her internal state. If you handle that influence gently without exploiting it, she trusts you with more. If you rush, push, or use it to boost your ego, she pulls back and she won't always explain why. And once she pulls back emotionally, the physical follows, not immediately. Sometimes weeks later, men think attraction disappeared overnight. It didn't. It dissolved slowly when her body no longer felt safe expanding around you. The man who understands this remains steady. He doesn't become colder or more intense. He simply stays aligned with himself. He leads interactions without controlling them. He listens without fixing. He touches without taking and hears the quiet reward for that level of discipline. When a woman feels consistently safe with you, she begins to initiate. Not because she's trying to impress you, but because her body now associates you with comfort and desire simultaneously. That's the moment when attraction stops being something you pursue and becomes something that meets you halfway. At this point, something subtle but irreversible starts to happen inside her. She stops evaluating you the way she evaluates other men. You're no longer being measured against a list of traits or compared to past experiences. You become a reference point, and that's dangerous territory for a woman emotionally because it means her feelings are no longer abstract. They're embodied. This is why women become cautious right here. Not distant, cautious. She may slow things down without pulling away. She may test your reactions in small, almost invisible ways. Does he get impatient when I need space? Does he change when I don't respond immediately? Does he stay grounded when I'm unsure? These tests aren't games. They're self-P protection. Her body has opened, and now her mind is trying to make sure it was safe to do so. When a woman lets you touch her hands or forearm during moments of uncertainty when she's thinking, conflicted, or emotionally quiet, that's a different level entirely. That's her allowing you into her internal process. You are no longer just a presence, you're a stabilizer, and very few men ever reach that position because it requires something rare, emotional restraint. Most men want to lock things down once they feel momentum. They want clarity, labels, reassurance. But female desire doesn't grow under pressure. It grows under spaciousness. The more room she has to feel without being directed, the deeper her attachment becomes. This is counterintuitive for men, but it's the truth. Here's where mentorship matters. A man who understands female psychology doesn't interpret her pauses as rejection. He reads them as integration. She's absorbing how it feels to have you in her life. She's imagining, not consciously, but emotionally, what it would be like if you stayed. And imagination is where attachment forms. Your job in this phase is not to impress, escalate, or extract certainty. It's to remain consistent, calm, present. You don't withdraw your warmth to provoke her. You don't intensify it to secure her. You let your presence speak for itself. That steadiness tells her something words never could. I am not a threat to your autonomy. And autonomy is sacred to women. The fastest way to lose her is to make her feel like choosing you means losing herself. The fastest way to deepen attraction is to make her feel more like herself when she's with you. When she initiates touch now, resting your hand on your arm, brushing your fingers, leaning in without thinking, that's not accidental. That's her body claiming familiarity, claiming comfort, claiming emotional ownership in a way that feels safe to her. But understand this clearly. None of this means possession. It means connection. And men who confuse the two always sabotage what they've earned. You don't own her because she trusts you. You are invited into her world because you respect it. The men who succeed long-term are the ones who never become entitled to the access they're given. They treat closeness as something living, not something conquered. And women feel that difference instantly. When a woman feels That you won't misuse intimacy. She opens further emotionally first, physically later, naturally, without force, without fear. And by the time she realizes how deeply she's involved, it already feels normal because you never made it dramatic. That's the power of understanding this moment. Not dominance, not control, quiet, disciplined presence that allows desire to grow on its own terms. Now, we arrive at the part most men misunderstand the most. When a woman reaches this level of comfort and emotional openness with you, she is no longer deciding if she likes you. She's deciding who she becomes around you. And that decision carries weight because women don't attach to men the way men attach to women. Men attach through desire. Women attach through identity. If being around you makes her feel calmer, more feminine, more grounded, more like herself, her nervous system begins to associate you with emotional regulation. You become the place her mind goes when she wants to feel steady. And once that association is formed, attraction deepens in a way that's difficult to reverse. This is why that simple, respectful touch carries so much power. It's not about claiming her. It's about signaling that you are emotionally safe to integrate into her life. Her body already knows this before her logic catches up. And when her body decides first, the mind usually follows. Here's a quiet truth women rarely admit. We don't fall for men who impress us. We fall for men who contain us emotionally, not contain. There's a difference. Containment means you can handle her emotions without reacting, fixing, or becoming overwhelmed. When she senses that, she relaxes deeper into connection. This is where many men sabotage everything by becoming overly available or emotionally reactive. They sense her attachment growing and they start orbiting her world. They prioritize her above their own purpose. They soften their edges to avoid conflict, and in doing so, they remove the very structure that made her feel safe in the first place. Masculine polarity is not about dominance, it's about direction. A man who knows where he's going emotionally and in life provides a frame a woman can relax into. When you abandon that frame to chase her approval, her attraction quietly erodes. Not because she wants less closeness, but because she feels she has to carry the emotional weight. Now, if a woman lets you touch her hands or forearm and later seeks your presence when she's tired, stressed, or quiet, that's not coincidence. That's regulation. She feels better simply being near you. And that's the most dangerous position you can occupy in her emotional world. Dangerous in the sense that it creates deep attachment. But again, this is not ownership. This is responsibility. How you show up now determines whether attraction matures into something lasting or collapses under pressure. If you remain steady, self-directed, and emotionally grounded, her trust compounds. If you become needy, controlling, or uncertain, her body will slowly close again, even if her words don't. Women rarely leave suddenly. They leave emotionally long before they leave physically. The withdrawal starts when safety disappears. And safety disappears when a man stops being himself in an attempt to keep her. The man who understands this doesn't cling. He doesn't withdraw. He stays aligned. He allows her to move toward him at her pace. And that patience communicates confidence louder than any declaration ever could. When attraction reaches this stage, it no longer needs to be chased. It needs to be protected by consistency, self-respect, and emotional discipline. That's how connection becomes commitment without force. Here's the final truth, and it's the one most men are never told because it can't be sold as a trick or shortcut. When a woman allows that specific kind of touch and everything that follows it, she was never yours in the way ego wants to believe. She chose you. And choice freely made is far more powerful than possession ever could be. By now, her body has already decided whether you feel like a safe place or a temporary experience. Her mind may still hesitate, question, analyze, but the body doesn't lie. If she seeks your presence when there's nothing to gain, if she relaxes into silence with you, if your touch still feels natural even when emotions are complex, then you've done something rare. You've become a man she doesn't have to guard herself against. And that's the real threshold. Women don't open themselves fully to men they have to manage. They open to men who manage themselves. Your emotional discipline, your consistency, your ability to stay grounded when things aren't perfectly clear. That's what allowed everything else to unfold. Not pressure, not tactics, not manipulation. This is why the idea of she's yours is misleading. The moment a man believes he owns a woman's affection is the moment he stops honoring it. Entitlement replaces gratitude. Assumption replaces presence, and attraction suffocates quietly under that weight. A woman stays deeply connected to a man when she feels free with him, not trapped by him, when she feels she can choose him every day instead of being claimed once and expected to remain. That freedom is what keeps desire alive over time. If you've listened carefully, you understand now that the power was never in the body part. It was in what that permission represented: trust, safety, emotional alignment. And those things can be lost just as easily as they're gained if you stop embodying the man who earned them. The man who keeps her isn't the one who escalates the fastest. It's the one who remains the same when there's nothing left to prove. He doesn't change once he feels chosen. He doesn't relax his standards or abandon his direction. He continues living from purpose, not from fear of loss. And here's something important to reflect on. Women don't remember every man who touched them. They remember the man who made them feel calm in a chaotic world. The man whose presence felt steady when everything else felt uncertain. If that's you, you don't need to ask where you stand. You'll feel it in how she stays. So, let me leave you with a personal question, one that matters more than any technique or signal. When a woman is around you, does she feel more peaceful or more alert? Think about that honestly. No excuses, no fantasies, just truth. Drop your answer in the comments. I read them carefully. If this message gave you clarity, like the video so it reaches the men who need it. Subscribe if you want more unfiltered truths from a woman who understands both sides. And share this with one friend who keeps chasing signals instead of becoming the man. Women feel safe choosing. Because once you understand this, you stop guessing and start leading your life from a place that naturally draws the right connection toward